Hello everyone, welcome to Deloitte's new podcast on cyber crisis management. I have today two experts, Timea Pahi, associate on cyber crisis management, and Nicola Schneider, senior manager for cyber strategy. Welcome. Why do institutions need a well-defined cyber crisis strategy in today's threat landscape?
Based on our recent experience, I would say which mostly revolves around DORA, where we tackle the crisis management, we've seen the organizations are quite poorly defining the whole process itself. We have some kind of components of it, but they're not that well defined, so to speak. Specifically, I would say one of the main issue is that it's all revolving around the COVID, as a latest major crisis that they were facing, but they, I would say, ignoring, so to speak, other remaining potential threats. One of those is, without any doubt, third-party compromises, which is dramatically increasing because a lot of companies do not have internal capabilities for certain, I would say, parts of their process, so they're outsourcing those to their trusted advisors, the vendors, integrators. So they're the ones who are, I would say, now the main source of those threats. I would say we have a lot of I would say examples in our region with specifically those type of the compromises where the vendor was the primary source of the attack, and without any, I would say, specific controls in place or mitigations in between, the company itself was again compromised due to that. Also, maybe just to have one step further, because a lot of our subcontractors have additional subcontractors, so we may be speaking not only about third-party compromise, but, so to say, fourth-party compromise, where those subcontractors who are less mature are the ones who are initially targeted and exploited, and then we can maybe facing the issues. And in the end, this is not, I would say, reflected in the company's crisis management, because they're not seeing this as a potential cause for any, I would say, downtime or, I would say, impact on their availability.
How do you see cyber simulations as part of incident response in today's threat landscape?
In order to see that the cyber crisis management plans are also working, we have to test them in real life or in tabletop exercises or cyber security simulations, because in that case we will see if there are any problems with the plan. So which kind of problems do we have, like loops in the processes, double or lacking roles and responsibilities. So there are the points that we are looking for, that okay, are there any errors or logical errors that we made. And during this stress situation, we will also see that how does it command of chain and so on is going.
I mean, just to add on top of that, if we, I would say, compare one of the recent examples that we did this type of testing for, we did the tabletop exercise for one of our clients, specifically on a third-party compromise. We noticed that in these cases, as Timea mentioned, we are lacking responsibility. Who is managing this relationship with the third party? Who receives the information? Who sends the information to that third party? We are missing, as you mentioned, parts of the process, or we have a loop in the process, so we're not sure which part is on our side, on the client side, and which is on the third party, on the vendor side. So we're not sure about the role and responsibilities throughout, I would say, the process. And in a lot of cases, what we see is we have issues in reporting. We are not sure, or notifying, I would say, reporting. So we are not sure who sends which information to whom. Regardless if we talk about internal reporting, so what information do we share with the internal stakeholders, employees, with one which are, I would say, resolving the issue, and remaining of the staff, about the, I would say, management body, shareholders. So we usually do not have any information prepared, and we are not sure if we have this information, how to customize it, and who we need to notify it about. Specifically, in some cases, we've seen that we are missing the components about the reporting to the competent authorities or any, I would say, institutions that we may have in that country. For example, police, or for example, or some kind of or some authority who is dealing with confidential data breaches. So we're missing, I would say, all this information in the end, and that's why we need to do the testing and to, I would say, fill in those gaps by creating specific documents which will be, I would say, a guidance throughout the testing, and then we can easily, I would say, work on our responses and to be more reactive when the specific crisis happens again, because it's only a matter of time.
What is the role of business continuity plan in the operational resilience?
BCM or BCP is vital component in maintaining resilience of organization. A lot of our clients have it defined. It's, I would say, covering the most basic type of scenarios, fire, flood, which are in most cases addressed. But the regulation now that we have in place, specifically DORA, is talking about addressing the cyber attack as one of the scenarios. So if we don't have it, now we need to create it. And we are talking more specifically about ICT, business continuity planning. So it's not about, evacuation in case of fire of the main building. It's also how to address the ICT personnel or personnel dealing with ICT and security. So it also needs to be reflected in our business continuity, because I would say it's wrongly, I would say, put aside all these years. So it's good to have it in the focus and to ensure that we have it created, to see what are the resources we need in those times, because without any professionals dealing with databases, for example, it's difficult to maintain a business, specifically in the case of any cyber attack. So I would say that creation of these plans is mostly where we support our clients, creation of specific plans, updating to ensure that we have all the components involved. And then I would say in the later steps comes the testing of those specific plans, where I would say it's interlinked with the tabletop exercise, where we could have it, I would say, in a more simulation manner than the exercise manner. But Timea can add more information on that.
Yes, so when we are doing these tabletop exercises or the hybrid or the technical exercises with the companies, we see a lot of common pitfalls. Just to name a few, there was also a fall that it was an incident and there was a lot of people who was working on the same solution, but they were not communicating to each other. So I think it's the better case that there are a lot of enthusiasts and they want to solve the problems, but it caused also just a delay for making the service again running and up. So that's why we are doing this also, the business continuity planning and also the exercises to see how does it work in real life. And it is also crucial because if we have a service interruption, then we have to prevent the organization for losing reputation, for losing money, for losing customers, and so on. And that's why they need to have the drill, and everybody has to know what they have to do in such a case.
Yeah, it's important, I would say, in those types of testing that we have the real results, not, I wouldn't say faking the results, but to have see the problems itself. It's difficult that we do the testing and we have zero issues. It's quite vital that when we do the testing, we see the real examples, real problems, which we can work on. It's not possible to have on, all the green dots, everything is fine all the times and objectives are satisfied, we are good to go. And then we have situation when some kind of crisis event occurs, and for example we need to do a switch over from primary site to secondary site. We are not confident enough to do the switch over, although we tested it before and said it's good to go. In case of a real example, in case of a real threat, we are reluctant to do so. So that's why it's important to, I would say, to be honest about it and to see what can we do about it to make it more resilient, and to see what are the issues.
Yeah, and to add it, thank you, Nicola, that we always say to the customers that this is the platform to fail. So we want that you are failing. So because in that case, this is a secure environment and you can make as many mistakes as you want. And please make the mistakes, because in that case, if there is a real cyber attack, then you will do better. So that's why we say that they need also a really good failure culture. It means that, okay, if someone is like a SOC analyst or someone makes mistakes, that it is fine. And we take that as a lessons learned. This is no blaming. We say, okay, that there is a failure. Why do we have this failure? We have to learn about it and make it better. So failures are welcome here at the cyber exercises.
You both mentioned the importance of communication. What are the key elements of crisis communication?
In the crisis communication, I would say this is the common pitfall or common, I would say, issue that we see across our clients, regardless of the industry. So during the testing, I would say, see it in the first take. We always see the issues in the communication because we do not, although we have it in a written form, roles and responsibilities, they're not linked with the specific individual in that company. For example, we have defined certain role, but we're not sure who is taking that role. So we are having issues in communication. As Timea mentioned, in some cases we have, doubling the efforts because multiple people are taking that responsibility, although it's not their part. So we have doubling the efforts or lack of any, I would say, activity on certain, I would say, tasks. So that's one of the issues. And what we usually also see is that it's not maybe clear enough who should do the specific task. And we're, I would say, missing the communication, I would say, communication on the reporting documents. I would say that is, regardless of the number of tests that we do, always we see as a common issue or pitfall is lack of communication plans. Some kind of drafted communication that may be sent to the regulator, to internal stakeholders, to the external stakeholders, to the clients, to the third parties. So we're missing always this vital piece of a document. And I would say within our region, we've seen several examples where we have the information in the media, people discussing about it, shareholders, clients. It starts to affect the reputation. And then after several days, we have the public statement from that company, about certain situations. So we're trying to, I would say, emphasize this because as soon as we see some kind of an issue, it's important to be proactive and to show to the media that you are in control of it. And I would say this is one of the topics that we are now trying to do more with our clients to, I would say, show them the importance of it. And I would say that current regulation is maybe good I would say, good push in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I would say this is also one of the favorite training for the customers, this crisis communication. I think they already see that there is nowadays a have to that they have these skills because, if there is a data breaches everywhere in the news. So that's why they have to be careful how to communicate it internal and external. And therefore, if we are doing these cybersecurity exercises or the tabletop exercises, this is a major part, how to make the crisis communication. And as Nicola mentioned, that they have to have a designated spokesperson, they have to have a designated person who is monitoring the media. And there are crucial points. And as you said, there are sometimes action plans, how to communicate in this and that cases. If they have playbooks for different incidents, then they have to also inform the shareholders and so on. So this is also a huge process to identifying the stakeholders till, okay, if the incident is done and everything is up and running, then how to make the communication in the aftermath, because it is also something that maybe a lot of organizations nowadays, they miss that after that there is also a communication part, how to make this also for the stakeholders and also for the customers, again, better. Yeah, and as you said, there are also a lot of regulatory parts, like how to communicate with relevant authorities.
You mentioned the regulatory part. What are the requirements in DORA and NIS related to crisis management and incident response?
I mean, well, in both regulations, they are new on the market, so to say, and DORA is already in force, so it's quite important maybe to highlight DORA regulation first, as it is targeting the financial sector, the financial institutions. So within that act, within that regulation, we have several, I would say, articles talking about the crisis management, and we are highlighting the importance of it. So if we talk about purely cyber crisis management, we have a requirement to do the yearly testing. So it's not only, I would say, taking exercise quite important to, during those tests, to identify the things that you may also mention, to create the specific plans to test those, which you may see the most relevant ones, and to work on the issues that you identify. So failure culture, as she mentioned, so it's quite vital, and it's way forward to, I would say, making more relevant crisis management programs. Within that, also we need to maybe mention, we mentioned already, I would say, BCM, but incident management is also a vital component of the crisis management. And within the both regulations, especially DORA, we have a quite tight timeline for the reporting. So it's a matter of hours within which companies need to do the root cause analysis, gather the most relevant information, and share those with the competent authorities. NIS2 has a similar requirements, but they are, I would say, more relaxed. So we have, let's say, 24 hours for the initial reporting, which gives you more time than in DORA. But regardless of that, we have the same requirements. We need to gather all the inputs, do the root cause analysis, and send the initial report to the competent authorities. I would say crisis management, incident management is all part of one huge framework, ICT risk management. So it's all stemming from the risk management, depending on the risk appetite. All these, I would say, documents and later on approaches are tailor-made to the company, and I would say this is something that we've been doing quite a lot in the recent months due to DORA regulation specifically.
Mm-hmm. I would add that both regulations set clear regulatories and clear requirements what companies have to do. And based on our clients, we will have the customized role-based training also for them. And if they have trained what are their roles and responsibilities, I would say they are the puzzle tiles. And if we have the cybersecurity exercise or the tabletop exercise, then we are putting these pieces together, because in that case, everyone has to know what are their responsibilities, and in order to prevent a cyber attack and make this organization more resilient. So this is the big test for the resilience. And there are also customized scenarios for them, from the tabletop exercise to the cybersecurity testing, which includes really deep technical exercises also for them. So this is a holistic approach we want to make at the customer side.
Yeah, I would say that's the whole point of our Cyber Academy, to make a wrap around all of these things that we discussed, to have the specific education and trainings for all types of individuals, all staff, role-based trainings that later on can be tested throughout the tabletop exercises. I mean, tabletop exercises are, I would say, initial, entry point to the testing. I would say, our supporting clients are maybe more more on a simulation, I would say, environments. We're trying to simulate a specific, event. So not only, for example, management board and crisis manager, which may or may not be part of a management board, is part of the exercise. We're trying to involve multiple, I would say, individuals, some kind of emergency units, people who have more technical background, and try to do the testing in a simulated environment to really test their capabilities. So in the end, of course, we can identify potential, I would say, gaps, and incorporate that lessons learned into our academy and work on that gap more specifically. So it's, I would say, the whole process is, I would say, interlinked. And the idea is to make it more resilient, not only compliant with the regulation, which is, I would say, good byproduct, but overall it focuses on the resilience of organization to any type of the threat.
Yeah, and in that case, the organizations can prove that they are compliant with NIS or with DORA because they have the test, and we will make again a retake of this test, and then we will see, okay, that what are the points that we improved, for instance.
Thank you very much for these interesting insights.
Thank you.